Hello and welcome to Portia, Raw and Real, where we get to have a little bit of a deeper dive with some of the guests whose conversations on the Portia Show made you go, what? Tell me more. And certainly one of those conversations that we had that made us want to just keep talking and keep talking and keep talking was with Pastor Kim Jones. Real talk, Kim and her husband. She's married now.
My man.
My man, Angelo. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for being willing to go just a little deeper.
Of course.
Because that's what people love you for. Yeah. I mean, you go deep. You are just such an open book.
Yeah.
And I love that part because as you have learned in your ministry, obviously, it's opening up and being where people can hear a story that they connect to, and then the lesson that you learned and how you turned that test into, God, I thank you, here's my testimony.
I think I just want people to realize that it doesn't matter your upbringing. It doesn't matter what happened to you as a child. It doesn't matter if you had 3 marriages like me. It doesn't matter if you've been molested or if you're an addict, that today can be the shift. If you make up in your mind today, nobody can unqualify you from what God started in your life.
Yeah.
And when he birthed you, the doctors heard, wow, but hell, heard purpose, destiny, a game changer, a nation shifter. But we just got to believe it.
You got to believe.
Got to believe it.
And it starts, I want to talk about little Kim, if we could, in Clayton County, Georgia, growing up just south of Atlanta. You had a calling on your life early. Your father was a pastor, but your father was like, there's no women leading any churches now. What was that like for you?
You know, for me, it was like when I came out of my mom, I came out different. You know, I was always a leader. I was selling suckers. I would steal them from Shoney's on a Sunday night and sell them at school.
Not from Shoney's, not after the buffet.
Oh, I'd pack my purse full of suckers and sell them for 25 cents at school. So I've always been an entrepreneur. I was in special ed my whole life. Who knew I'd write 6 bestsellers with major company like HarperCollins?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like God had his hand on my life. But in that upbringing, I saw my mother as like a wallflower. Like my mama was, if my daddy needed a keyboard player, she learned how to play the keyboard. If my daddy needed a choir director, she'd do the choir director. She was the youth leader. She was the children's pastor. And she never looked happy. Like, I just remember my whole life, my dad looking like he stepped out of GQ and my mama looking like his mama. And I was like, I just don't get this. Like,
that's deep.
God, you hate women? Like, all because Eve made a man eat an apple, and apples ain't even good without peanut butter. Now we got to suffer? Like, we got to be the ugly ducklings?
That is so interesting, and I want to just unpack that for just a second, because I think some people would hear that and say, she sounds like she was a loyal, doting wife, trying to be present.
And she was phenomenal.
Right, but you saw what the deficit of what she wasn't getting to be as a woman.
Yeah, like, why she's the one making this church happen. She's the one that birthed me and my brother. She's not getting any accolade. Like, you making my mama, she wore her hair wrapped around a oatmeal box up to here and trying to take me to school. I'd be like, go drop me off a block away. Now, my daddy would have white and black wingtip shoes on.
Oh, wow.
So I just I promise you to this day, I know the reason that I had to go through all I went through is because they were all so perfect. I was like, I got to go be bad. I got to do bad for the whole family because y'all were all way too perfect.
And I can't do this. This is a lot of pressure. You really felt that PK pressure.
I did, and I ran away. Girl, I ran away. I got married, went to Topeka, Mexico. Now, listen, I don't do nothing small, okay? Now, I'm going to jump.
Can we, and can we say, you were 18 years old on this first marriage. Because you're very candid now. 3 marriages. Well, the 4th, but this one is, this is the real.
This is it. This baby going.
But you were 18. That was a very short marriage, and that's why you say, well, that doesn't really count. I was 18 to 6 months.
Like, I promise you, I would not know what that dude looks like.
If you guys saw each other?
No, he was just my escape, and I wanted to escape so bad, I went all the way to Topeka, Mexico.
Wow.
I went 18 hours after the border. With nobody spoke English. I was just like, dame un beso. I would just sit and try to practice, and we didn't have Google or Amazon.
No, not that. So that's 6 months, and you recognize this is not working out. But
well, no, he kicked me. No, he left. No, I didn't
he
leave him. Yes, that man's mama came. He moved to the States with me, and his mama came and picked him up. Said, my son's going back to compete with me. And so that first one, yeah, he divorced me.
Got it. Okay. All right. You know, sometimes what they say, man's rejection is God's protection.
Oh, honey.
So
always.
The second marriage, though, that's 18 years. That's
I
two
loved
children.
him. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And that one was the one that really kind of changed everything for
Yeah.
you and your shift.
Because, you know, when I look now, I've got 3 experiences where when I found myself divorced, I was like, I'm going to figure out what's going on, especially after the third one. I was like, I got to figure something out because I'm prosperous in every area of my life, but this one, which was the most important.
And isn't that the hardest thing?
I wanted a big burly man loving on me.
Yes, yes. Trust me, I understand. Yes.
I wanted a man that could love me, and just so I started getting to where I would look. When I found myself back at my mom and daddy's after that 18-year marriage, I was so devastated because I realized that everyone's not your assignment. And that I was over here trying to make a man get himself together because I was trying to get myself together. I believed in his purpose more than he believed in his purpose. We both partied like rock stars. I quit and he couldn't. And that addiction just took over his life. And so I moved back with my mom and dad, and I remember laying in my bed one night, and I was like, man, this sucks. Like, my 2 sons needed their father, and their father was a phenomenal dad until he became an alcoholic, and he just left us. Like, it was like the devil came in and just took our life. The last 5 years was hell.
And you found yourself back at home.
Yes,
starting
with my mom
over
and
from
dad.
scratch.
I'm laying in that bed, and I
Yeah.
said, God, take this pain away from me. And I heard God say, I can't take it away. You got to get up and walk away from it.
Interesting, because you know how many women have just laid in bed crying and praying, God, take this pain away from me.
He done
take
moved
this
on
pain.
with a different family, and you still crying. Believe in God, he's coming back. He ain't coming back.
Yeah.
He's not coming back. Rejection was God's protection. I believe that God is such a God of grace and mercy that he knows, Portia, that I'm going to open the windows of heaven over your life. And that dude you got married to, his character couldn't keep up with your purpose.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you a way out. Now don't be stupid. I just was stupid and tried it more times.
Yeah, yeah. But is it stupid or is it part of the journey?
Yeah. I would do it again.
Yeah.
I would. I would do every single thing that I've done, Portia.
Yeah.
I would do it again, maybe quicker.
Because that's how the lessons.
And I'm
that's
great
how you get
woman
to
now
see.
because I've walked through it. Now
Yeah.
I got empathy for people. If I wouldn't have walked through all that mess, Portia, I'd be in Punta Cana with the margarita. I wouldn't be sitting here on your show. You know, I wouldn't be pastoring every Sunday.
Yeah.
I would be selfish and caught up in myself and thinking I was all that now because I know what it's like to feel lost. Feel like I knew the world was talking about me, and I did it. I was like Apostle Paul. I did everything they said I did. I did it.
I did it.
I did it.
Guilty. Yeah.
Guilty.
Guilty. That part.
But I'm not that person anymore.
Right, and that's what gets to the purpose part. And so I want to bring you into this conversation because there was a third, but there is something different, right?
Now the third one, I can tell you about him real quick. So the third one I met on Facebook.
Oh.
I was still living with my mom and daddy. I had never spoken preached a sermon in my life. And remember when I moved back in with the 18-year marriage ended.
Yeah.
I said, I got to get out of this house. So I married me one 15 years older, thinking he's going to be my financial plan.
Looking for a
Yes,
rescue,
girl.
and that is not.
And that one walked out during the pandemic. He literally cheated, and it was all over the blogs. I found out off Shade Room.
Oh gosh.
Who's this man? Everybody's like, this is Real Talk Kim's husband. I was like, crap. People are calling me. I'm preaching in Biloxi. They're like, we so sorry your husband cheated. I said, that dude is old. He has not cheated on me. He loves me. And they were like, no, girl, he did too with your followers.
Oh.
And so that's how that ended.
And so
5 years later, this one came.
5 years. So I want to hear first of all, how did you meet and how did you know that you were in a different space? Because that 5 years was a real growth process for you.
I mean,
and then in comes Angelo Rev.
Yeah, I mean, I was playing the lottery and I asked her, she played the lottery, but she like, I'm a pastor, right? And I'm like, okay. Well, good. You already hit the lottery because I heard,
Oh, okay, with the confidence.
Yeah, so that's what it was.
Tell me, you guys met at an upscale hotel?
We was at the St. Regis out on the lawn. It was a good probably spring or something
Yeah.
like that. And
He
I,
just seems so gentle.
yeah, and I think that when I
And you
this
spoke
was
first?
the
You
second
spoke
time.
first?
Yeah, it was the second time we met. So I'm like, but I didn't exchange. We didn't exchange numbers the first time, you know. And we just end up 3 months later. We end up seeing each other again.
And his friend asked, "Can we sit at the fireplace with y'all?"
Oh.
And I was just thinking, I was there with my brother and his
Yeah.
wife, and I turned around and saw this good-looking, and I just did this. Right on the back of the sofa. Yeah, because I'm totally different now. Like I got a lot on my back now. Like I can't just do
course.
stupid stuff now. I got a whole
Yeah.
church.
Yeah.
I got a thriving church. I got a good church that depend on their pastor to be holy and sanctified and make right decisions. You know?
And be the good shepherd.
Yes, be a good shepherd.
Yeah.
I am, just innately it's in me.
Yeah.
I turned around and that good looking thing was looking at me. I
And
was
tell me, because you said it on the show, you said you need to what? You need to put my number in your phone?
Yes, we sat and talked. He came and sat by me, Portia. His friend sat over there, and he came and sat by me, and we started talking. And I said, "Are you in a relationship?" And he said, "No." He said, "Are you?" I said, "No. I've been out for 5 years." And
That was the first,
yes.
really?
And then we found out about our kids. We told each other about our kids. I just kept getting closer and closer and closer. I just kind of like squeezed up on him. And then right before we were leaving, finally he found out I was a pastor. And
No,
What do you mean you found it? How
My-
you
my brother-
because you didn't say it. You
no,
were not
I'm
trying
a
to make
motivational speaker now.
Yeah. You was a motivated
Yeah.
speaker, but then after we kind of gave, you gave me your IG, and I stayed up kind of scrolling. I'm like,
Looking
man,
for a bikini picture.
I was looking for a bikini picture or something because
You
she didn't
didn't
because
go
she didn't
see
tell me she was a pastor
pastor,
because
right.
I wouldn't be
You're not
looking.
gonna find-
I wouldn't be looking
Well,
for.
but let me say, you're not going to find a bikini picture,
Yeah.
but you're going to find some pictures.
Yeah,
Yes.
You're going to find
And I
some
was
pictures.
just-
You are, because, you know.
I was falling asleep looking. I'm like, she got 25,000 posts here. I'm like, where? I'm like, I'm in.
That's what happens.
I'm in 2019 right now. I'm just,
Still scrolling.
Still
But I
scrolling,
want to
yeah.
know, what was it that had to change for you, right? Because we spend a lot of time talking about how, what was different about you. How did you know that you were ready to be in a different space and get married again? Because 3 times, sometimes folks are like, I'm done.
You know what? I started praying about a year before. I was with my mom, and my mom said, "Kim, I really want you to get married again." I said, "I'm not getting married again. Like, no way.
Yeah.
I got terrible judgment."
I think you showed her my picture.
Yeah, well, I did. I did.
Did you
I
just
did.
say you showed the
He
pic-
said,
You just
"You
said he
gotta
showed
marry
the
this
picture. He
man."
said he showed the picture.
Then I started getting me some married friends around me.
Uh-huh.
I went and
Iron
found me
sharpens iron.
some married couples, man, that have been married 30 years. Taffy Dollar and her husband married 39. Dee Dee and Mike Freeman, they've been married 39. And I started going on vacation. I never went on a girls' trip. And they invited me to go on a girls' trip, and it was God. I started seeing how these women can be bosses. Because in this culture, you're told you're going to sleep with your Birkin bag because ain't no man going to be okay with you making more money than him.
Yeah.
Ain't no man going to take a woman that pastors a church or runs a company. And by my examples of being married, these men all were jealous of what I did and started trying to tear me down. So I figured I had to choose ministry or a man.
Yeah.
So when I started hanging out with them, they started pouring into me. And
Yeah.
each one of them walked with me through my divorce 5 years before. Now, they all
Wow.
did tell me you need a black brother. They all
That-
told
okay,
me,
but-
when I walked through, they said, you just
Let's-
need you a good black brother, Kim. That's what all of them told me.
So listen, I want to talk about this because what your church when your father took over, well, your father passed away in COVID, right? Before that, it was a predominantly white congregation,
Yeah.
right? Very small. There were some Confederate flags blowing in
yes.
the wind. This was not the church where Angelo would have been going beforehand. Now it's a very different setup.
It looks like heaven. Our church looks like heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because honest to God, Portia, my mom and dad raised me just to love everybody. Like, I love everybody.
Yeah.
Like, I say I don't see color. They're like, that's so stupid. People come after me. That's so cancel culture. That's so stupid. You have to see color. I'm like, honest to God, like, I just love everybody.
Yeah.
And so now he fits perfect. Our church is just colorful.
But
colorful.
Other things that have changed, though, not just for you, but just in the ministry, because I just, the imagery of the church having Confederate flags before, and now it's just this huge following,
Yeah.
very diverse,
Yeah.
and people are watching from all over,
Yeah.
literally
Our biggest
different
church is
continents.
online, yeah.
Yeah. Church has changed a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, even before COVID, but COVID really allowed us to shift, forced us to shift, right? How have the changes manifest in your ministry?
Man, for us, the pandemic was sad it happened. But I mean, and I'm in Fayetteville, so the city came out to my house and said, "You're the pastor of this church." I've only been pastoring for 3 months at that point.
Yeah.
And they said, we're shutting you down. Well, they watched me. I was the example of Fayetteville. They watched me and stayed on top of me. You can't have services. So during that time, I started migrating everything over to online. And I started building communities. I started doing connect groups. We've got people now that are serving in our ministry every Sunday from Egypt, moderating and teaching connect groups, because I believe in building women and men up to be disciples, to go preach. I don't want you to stay at my church. I want you to go out and do your own thing.
Yeah.
And so it's worked wonders for us. Like, it is just, we have a huge online, global, limitless.
And you've got a lot of young people.
A lot of young people.
And of course, in every church, big, small, mega church, tiny country church, the older folks, we need to get more young folks back in the church.
We got a lot of young couples.
What is the difference? What do churches have to do to get sort of beyond the four walls and get young people connected?
Man, we got to be relevant. Portia, I am the queen of reinventing myself. I mean, you showed pictures on your show where I had a mohawk with, you know, pink, and I'm preaching in a tutu. On Preachers of Atlanta, I was known as a tutu preacher. And so I feel that people don't want to become relevant. And these older, you know, the more senior, he called us senior citizens yesterday. I about choked him. But usually when we get like 50s, in our 50s, we don't want to change.
Right.
But we got to stay relevant. You got to be able to change your hair. You got to be able to get in the gym, whatever you got to do to
And you got to be able to wear and come as you are.
As you
are
are.
big. I know that you've had leggings in church, you've had cheetah print in church, you've had fatigues in church,
And don't
you've
think
had boxing gloves.
think nothing of it.
Why, so for folks who say, "Oh my gosh, it's a distraction to be, so you're just supposed to focus," and you're like, "This is how I'm focused."
Yes. I think that I'm giving people permission to be you.
Yeah.
Like, who says you got to look like Miss Brady? Like, who says that you can't come to church as you are? Who says that you got to change? God went to the worst. He used the worst people with the worst past to create the best futures. To be called, we're still talking about the people in the Bible that were rebels.
Right.
So I'm kind of teaching people how to love you.
How do you deal with the pushback when you know what your purpose is, you know what your vision is, and you know, I need to get the girl in booty shorts, I need to get the guy who doesn't believe in God and hasn't in a long time. How do you deal with keeping them close and still deal with critics who are like, "I can't believe she's wearing leggings"?
You know what? I ended up preaching one time for one of my girlfriends, and she wears booty shorts, and she's got a huge social media following. And I am her spiritual, she comes to me. Thank God she comes to me, because she could be burning her sage and praying to it. And the church world came after me, Portia.
Gotcha.
The church world came after me. I can't believe you're going and doing this for that girl. When I tell you, Portia, I pray every day for God to guard my ears from religion. I can't stand religion. It's all about relationship.
You have said online, there was a point when your words, hated Christians. You thought they were the biggest hypocrites.
Because I know how they made me feel. And I want to be hands and feet of Jesus. I want to be the one that when I walk into a room, people say, "Man, I feel safe in your presence." You've made me want to talk to God again.
Yeah.
When I looked up from that woman, she let me in the service. Not service, but it was an MLM event, and it was packed with millionaires, billionaires, women.
Yeah.
All of them in booty dresses. And I walked up there, and I loved every one of them. I walked up there, and I started praying. And when I opened my eyes, because it was a long prayer, because it was like God was just moving. You just felt just a beautiful presence.
Yeah.
And I looked up, and 150 of those women were down at that altar. And I said, "God, if I would have listened to those church people, if I would have allowed myself to be tainted, worried about not being able to preach at your conference because you don't agree with me loving people like Jesus,
well, and
then
isn't
these
that
people
the
wouldn't
point,
have got to the
Isn't
altar."
that the point, that we're supposed to, I mean, it just goes back to that first stone.
Yes.
Who's going to cast it if everybody in here
on.
has something that
Look,
they're...
it makes me want to cry talking about it.
Yeah.
Yes. Just let these people know there's hope. It's the woman caught in the act of adultery, like you just stated. And they walked in there trying to judge her, and Jesus bent down in that dirt. That's what I want to do. I want to be the one bending down in the dirt. I got you. We're riding at dawn. I got the matches. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's ride.
God loves you.
What have you learned about yourself in this new season of your life as a newlywed? Because I mean, you've known each other 2 years, but you've been married just a few months.
Yeah.
Right.
And how does that change what you do in your ministry?
Whew, man, for me and him, I remember my mother looking at me, Portia, and saying, "You let him be. If he doesn't want to come every Sunday, he doesn't have to come."
You didn't want to go every Sunday.
No, I didn't want to drive that far.
It was a long drive.
It's a long drive.
Okay, right. For folks, it was a long stretch
And he
of
didn't
miles.
at first.
Yeah, and I kind of watched online, and I looked at everything.
And that bothered you?
Oh, no.
I looked online, but my thing is, for me, I want to see where do I fit in, how do I make this better?
Yeah.
So it wasn't that I wasn't going to church. I did attend church. You know, I was brought up in church. But
but when you walked in, the first time, I loved the story about, you didn't know he was coming the first time.
That buddy walked in on Easter. He did not tell me he was coming, Portia. He come walking in, and every woman in that church was like this. Looking, I was like, what? I looked at my mother. I said, oh,
Mama,
God.
Mama.
I was hitting her because you could see him because he's tall, 6'5", gorgeous, beautiful spirit. And I said, Mama. Well, she said, I said, I got to preach, and I got to preach. It's Easter. This place is packed. But that man just walked in. I just met that. She said, who? I said, right there. I said, that's the man I was telling you about. And he went and ate spaghetti with me and Mimi after church.
Spaghetti with Mimi. Mimi is what you call Mama. I love it.
He's just fit right in, Portia. Like he's just come in, and he said he wanted to see where he would fit and make it better, and he just has. Yeah. He's just come in, and now of course he's there every service with me, teaching all about the finances at our church. That's what he does because he's a broker.
Yeah.
And it just, you feel good, baby.
I feel good.
You love Limitless.
I feel good.
I can tell you to feel really good in this space. My last question for you, the lesson for the people watching, who watch you all the time, but maybe you're getting some new eyeballs here. Getting unstuck.
Yeah.
Your book is called Unstuck.
Yeah.
First step to just get, I think it's like a 90-day guide, right? Yeah. But it's a lifelong journey. But that first step, when you're crying at night in bed praying for a deliverance or some peace of mind, first step to getting unstuck.
Man, get back up again. Like, stop staying there. You're not stuck because you're not a tree. So stop focusing on what you lost and focus forward. Like, I don't care what you have to do. The Bible says he's a lamp unto your feet and a light unto your path. He didn't say he was a strobe light. There's just movement. If you've hit rock bottom, roll over and look up.
Yeah.
You're the only way up is up. The only worst case scenario is you got to go up again.
Yeah.
And starting over ain't so bad. Something has to end and something greater to begin. So just get back up again. Stop staying down so long. Stop wasting your life crying over something.
Get up and stay up.
You got to get up.
And keep believing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Angelo.
Thank you.
So good having you, two of you here in this space. Listen, if you have not seen the episode of Portia, go to portiashow.com. Check out the conversation that we had on the show. And just be sure to let folks know where you saw this and share the word, because we have a lot of fun on this episode of Real Portia Raw and We thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Portia. Thank you. Thank you.